I, the Finnish maiden, will turn 103 years old on December 6, 2020, Finland's Independence Day. I had a major birthday with huge global celebrations just 3 years ago. I turned 100 as independent woman, but in reality, my body is much older. Have you ever looked at the map of Finland? The map of Finland is I, a woman. I have a head, one arm, a waist, and a long skirt, so I am the Finnish maiden. But I have changed a lot as the years have passed. Hundreds of years ago, I had only a skirt or the hem of a skirt. Finland did not really exist then, because Finland and Sweden were one country, and I was in the arms of my big sister, Sweden. But I did already have my own language, an older form of Finnish spoken in Finland thousands of years ago. In those days, I got my food from the forest. I hunted for animals and ate mushrooms, berries, and anything else edible from the forest. I had fine jewelry and tools I bought from neighbors across the sea. How did I pay for all that? With animal furs or food exchanged for goods? Many people moved to my land from across the seas and land. To the east of me, there's a large country, Russia. Sweden and Russia were often at war. During those wars, the borders of the countries kept moving, and I was reshaped many times. In the 16th century, I got a waist on the map. Then I grew towards the north. I was united with my big sister, Sweden, for more than 600 years. I started to get food not only from the forest, but also from agriculture. First, my skirt was cleared and then set on fire. Don't worry, it was controlled burning, so that grain could be grown. The year 1809 was an important year for me. Russia and Sweden were at war, and when it ended, I had to leave my big sister, Sweden, and join Russia as a wife. I now became part of Russia. I expanded from the waist up and got a chest, head, and arm. I grew up and started to do things by myself. I started paying for things with my own money, markka. Roads and railways were built, and I was able to travel by horse and train. In the 19th century, however, I was very poor, one of the poorest in Europe. I often had to go hungry, and many of my countrymen and women died. I even had to bake my bread with tree bark. I used about 60% rye flour and 40% bark. My partner, Russia, gave me a lot of freedom. I was allowed to speak my own language, Finnish, more than before and make many decisions myself. Then Russia got a new Tsar who wanted to limit my freedom. Of course, this wasn't to my liking, and I began to dream about divorce and my independence. In 1917, a revolution began in Russia, and Russia became a socialist state, the Soviet Union. The same year, I decided to attempt to finalize my divorce. That's what I did. I had been with Russia for about 100 years, but I was now free and independent. But the very next year, in 1918, I started to have birthing pains. Independence was not easy. There was a civil war, the Reds were poor people, and some of them wanted socialism while the Whites did not. The Whites, who owned land and were wealthier than the Reds, won. A lot of people died in the war and left me injured and suffering for a long time. After the war, I got a second arm for a while. I raised both arms up to welcome a new, bright future. I worked hard in the fields and in the factories, both in the countryside and in the city. I started to grow wealthier. but there were black clouds visible in the sky. All of Europe was fighting, and the Soviet Union wanted me back. I did not want to get too friendly, but eventually Finland was invaded by the Soviet Union. The Winter War of 1939 to 1940 began. I and my fellow Finns had to fight in severe winter weather. When the war ended, I lost a piece of my skirt when Karelia was added to the Soviet Union. There was not much food during the war, and even worse, there was no coffee. I had to drink coffee made mostly with grains or dandelion petals. My shoes were made of paper or wood. I needed friends, so I became friends with Germany. In the continuation war of 1941 to 1942, I went to war against the Soviet Union with Germany. I really wanted my whole skirt back and maybe even wider skirt than ever before. But the Soviet Union won again and my skirt got narrower. And to my horror, I lost my second arm. Because of the wars, we lost a lot: health, husbands, sons, and brothers. More than 400,000 Finns moved from Karelia, the southeast of Finland, as refugees to the other parts of the country. I was able to stay free and independent, but I did have to pay war reparations to the Soviet Union because of losing the war. Fortunately, this also had one advantage. I had to supply the Soviet Union with a lot of metal products, such as locomotives. Therefore, industry had to be developed, and I started to get richer. Presidents Paasikivi and Kekkonen advised me to be friends with Soviet Union. We had a lot of common trade, and I got even wealthier. I was independent and no longer ate bread supplemented with tree bark or drank coffee made of dandelion petals. I moved from the countryside to the city, and I was now walking on cobblestone streets wearing my fashionable Italian leather shoes. Sometimes I went to Fazer Cafe and had a cappuccino and a slice of delicious cake, such as Sachertorte or Princess Torta. And I did keep working hard and became wealthier. Later, I joined the European Union and began paying for my purchases in euros. In addition to Finnish and Swedish, I learned other languages. People from other countries began to move in, just like hundreds of years ago. I'm now 103 years old and tired, but satisfied. Billion-year-old stars look down from the night sky and I see them laughing at me. They think that I'm still young as a state, only the age of one generation. Around my birthday, the night sky and soft snow cover me, my quiet forests, lakes, and rocks. Shh. Be quiet, please. She's sleeping. The stars are whispering. Tomorrow, I'll wake up to another bright morning.